Hey, this is Sonya, and welcome to Dentistry Gone Wild, the official podcast of mobile and teledentistry. On this podcast, Melissa and I bring you the best of best in dentistry as it pertains to mobile dentistry and teledentistry. If there's anything to know, we're in the know. We're the who's who on mobile and teledentistry. We got it squared up. We have all the info. Hey, Mel, how you doing, baby?
Hey, yeah, you're my daily pep talk. That's what I'm so thankful for you. I'm getting rid of my stinking thinking because of you. Love it. Okay, but we have the coolest cats come on this podcast, and that's cool with a K and cat with a K. We have the coolest cats on this podcast, and one of them is with us today, and she is just a dear. Every time I see her, she has this just loving aura about her, and everybody loves her. So Loren King, welcome to the podcast.
Hi. Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, beautifuls.
Lovely. Well, why don't you are very, very well known. You're an easy person to like. You're very well known in dentistry. But for those of you that aren't as familiar with you as we are, can you give us a lowdown of what you're about and who you are and your heart of gold?
Yes. So I've been in dentistry for 11 years now, which is crazy to me. And do not try and compute my age. We're not going to talk about that. So 11 years. For the first 5 years, I was a dental assistant. And then for another 5 years, I was in dental hygiene and coaching and mentoring. And I started public speaking back in 2019. And started going into more of like a sales role and things of that nature. And so now it's everything that I started then is really just, it's starting to happen overnight where I'm being, pulled in all these different directions. And I know that I can't turn my back on any of it. But I love that when I went into this, I had no intention of it turning into this because it grew authentically and when I was ready. And I was able to get coaching. I still have coaches now, Catherine Itel Bell and Frank King. Frank King is now my TEDx coach. And I just, I fully believe that you need help along the way, and that's okay. And some of it I've been able to do by myself, but I'm also still doing sales and not as much as I would like to because of, speaking and things like that. But I'm working for Edge Health. They're great humans over there doing things for other humans in Pakistan and Peru. And then also, aiding and helping people here in the States that, financially they can't afford to have the help that they need. So again, I love being with humans like that are, I just wanted to be with them in some capacity so that I could help in any way because I believed in what they were doing and I could see where they're going. And even though I spread myself thin sometimes, I know that I can keep doing it. I'm a licensed skydiver. I've jumped out of a plane by myself 34 times. I haven't jumped in a long time. It's been about a year. So I probably won't get back up there. I don't know. You get anxious when it's been that long, if it makes sense. But I'm releasing my first book this year. That's coming into fruition. So I have a lot of moving parts going on, but I'm super, super excited. And so I'm just trying to make sure that I do it with the right people. And you two are definitely two of the best humans to speak to, be associated with, anything. So I'm happy to be here.
That's awesome. Let's just spend a little bit of time on the skydiving part.
Yeah.
Sonya, have you been skydiving yet?
Yes, I've skydived one time.
Yeah.
Not free, not by myself.
Yeah.
I was, what is it called that when someone's on my back? Tandem. Yeah. So yeah, it was exhilarating. It was truly exhilarating. I never have to do it again. It's out of my system. But
that's what everyone says.
It's out of my system. It's off the bucket list. I'm good. Melissa, you doing it? You doing it, Melissa?
Yes, I want to, and I know I will pee my pants, but I'm going to do it. I am not an adrenaline junkie. I mean, you know me, Sonya. I wouldn't even drive a Lamborghini if I had the chance.
You didn't drive. Oh my gosh, she didn't drive the Lamborghini, and it has so. When I was going 110, she was getting all just. But I want to be there when you skydive, Melissa. I want to be on the ground looking up because you're gonna be screaming like a maniac.
Me too. We'll have a bottle of champagne on once you make it to the ground, because you will make it to the ground.
Oh no, Lord, you need to organize a hygiene dental skydiving event.
Oh my God, that would be a blast.
What state are you in? What state are you in?
Right now, I'm in New York.
Oh, we're not doing it in New York.
No, it's freezing here right now. You would not associate with me if I got you to do that. Once you get done with that, you'd be like, listen, Linda, I don't know what you were thinking, but that was some BS. So, no, that would be a freaking blast though. Cause there's been so many people, when they hear that, they're like, I want to go skydiving. And I'm like, when are we going? So yeah, I think you'd love it. But it is true though, like you just said, it's usually you get up there and you do it and then you make it to the ground safely and you're like, I'm never freaking doing that again. Or for me, I literally, the first words that came out of my mouth was, how much are you going to charge me if I want to go back up? So I loved it. Yeah.
Well, now listen, you do, I met you at Brown Girl for the first time in person. I've been on Facebook with you, but you have a passion. You have a passion for human trafficking, right? And we want to tie that in with mobile dentistry because it's in every aspect of our lives and it's real. So we wanted to. You just want to put some information out for the mobile clinician and what to look for and a direct contact to you or someone where they can get some more training and help. We could not cover all that on this podcast, but we want to know that the resources are available. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, 100%. So I'll dive right in. And I was actually thinking about more of this last night after we were talking about doing this today. And I was thinking about strictly the mobile side of it, what you guys are experiencing in that aspect. And I was almost like, it would almost be easier to take a child that is being abused or trafficked or something of that nature through something that's mobile, because they know that you're constantly moving. And so they're not always going to see the same person every single time. So I would highly encourage anyone in mobile dentistry, in my opinion, I would say that you might even see it more. There's a huge possibility because they're good at tactics and they don't want to get caught. They like making money off of human trafficking. So definitely educate yourself is the biggest thing I will say. And I'll go into, why I am doing this and why I am passionate about it. And I usually just dive right in. And so I was sexually assaulted for the first time when I was 7. And then again, when I was 21, both by extended family members. And the reason, number one, I tell that story is because I want it to become real immediately to whoever I'm speaking to, that even people that present themselves really well and look like they're doing great and they've always done great, you don't know their story. And so I do that so that you can see someone right in front of you, kind of, just being like, it takes you back a minute. But also I hope that me being vulnerable like that, it helps people to trust me a little more because I'm trusting them with my story. And so the reason that I associate sexual assault, rape, sexual abuse to human trafficking is because I believe that that's where it starts some of the time. And so any chance we get where we can kind of hone in on something, even if it's just a percentage, like at least we're starting somewhere. And so I'm able to tie the two together that way. But I started speaking about it a few years ago because I came across a story that was on the internet, it was on the news. It was a local, or not local, it was just an area human trafficking story. And there was a 12-year-old girl who had been raped 56 times by 56 different men in 12 hours. And her trafficker actually made $60,000 in those 12 hours. But what really, yes, that is absolutely awful. But the story continues, and it didn't sit well with me. She went and she was abandoned back to her family because she was around that age in trafficking where unfortunately, like you're not that profitable anymore, because people that are wanting this kind of stuff in terms of just sex trafficking, they like younger humans. So they abandon her back home. Sometimes they honestly, they kill you or they abandon you. They abandoned her back home, and her parents said in one of the interviews that they got her back, but they got her back damaged. And unfortunately, 2 weeks later, she did commit suicide. And, when I started thinking about what could have possibly been going through her head, anything like that, to just like try and like level or, understand the situation more of, it's like, well, I mean, think about it. It's even her trafficker who she, quote unquote, like she started to fall in love with or whatever it was, even he abandoned her. So how would anyone else love her, like after what had been done to her body? And it's just like, just think about the shame that comes with that and trying to get back into the real world. It's really hard. I would say being trafficked is the hardest thing. The second hardest thing is integrating back into a normal life, or what people think is a normal life. And so it affected me so much that I was like, I can't just sit here at this point, and no one actually knew my history. No one in my family knew. I hadn't talked about it or anything. And so some of my family members, the first time they found out was seeing me on stage. So it was just that element of shame again. And I didn't know what repercussions would come out of that, or how people would see me. And so essentially my goal with all of this is awareness. I said, if there's one thing I can do, is I can get up in front of people, I can be vulnerable and tell my stories so that they relate to me and they trust me. And I can spread as much awareness as I can so that we do start being able to spot it. And then, like my ultimate dream, I would have a nonprofit, and it'd be something like a safe haven for post trafficking, and just helping them get integrated back into the real world, or just realize that, yes, this has been done to your body and it is horrible. And I know this means that I would be arrested for arson, but I would light these people on fire, like just the severity of how angry it makes me. And I don't have children, so I can only imagine if you do have children, how much that would be intensified for me. But I just can't sit there and not do something. It was constantly on my brain. And so that's my biggest hope. Just keep getting the word out there. It hasn't been officially announced yet, but I was brought on and hired by Catapult Education. So Dr. Lou Graham, I will be having a human trafficking course. We're going to do it in person and virtual, just so for those who aren't comfortable being in person yet. And I also travel solo to give my hour CE course on human trafficking awareness. So that's the plan. 2022 is going to be just that amplified, getting in front of as many people as I can.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you for being vulnerable, number one. Being vulnerable as a woman in dentistry takes a lot of guts, and just being a woman, just being a human, a vulnerable human. So thank you for sharing your story. And I've had some more time to read lately, which is good. I'm getting my schedule's in order. But one of the books I was reading about was talking about how sexual assault is, way more rampant than we ever believe, really. And it was talking about how it's more or less a systemic issue. And we know this. This is something we know. It's a systemic, issue across our country and other countries as well. But one of the examples I gave was, on college campuses, they say, okay, girls, don't go out at night, right? And that's how they combat the sexual assault, instead of educating the abusers, right? Or re-educating them and addressing them. And I read that and I was like, I knew it, but I was like, man, that's exactly right. It's so prevalent. Yeah.
Yes, 100%. So with trafficking specifically, it is number one, it's $150 billion industry. The most money that's being made in human trafficking is the United States. And the reason for that is because we don't talk about it. We're America. That doesn't happen here. It's not going to happen to me. No, it's happening right under your nose. And it's not your fault, because you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't know what to look for, if you're not educated in the subject enough to know that doesn't look right, I know that this means I need to start looking at other things and asking other questions, because I always tell anyone that I talk to, I don't want you to assume, I want you to assess. Assuming can get someone hurt. Assuming can make the issue worse. You have to be educated to make these kind of decisions. It's a human life that's in jeopardy. But if you don't know, then of course, I mean, what are you going to do?
And thank you for saying that. And human trafficking is really big sexually, but it's also big for labor. It's modern day slavery.
Exactly.
It's modern day slavery, and it's a lot of money made on the sexual part, but it's a lot of money made on the labor part.
Yes.
And you could be right around you, and people could be in slavery in the United States.
Yes.
It's modern day slavery.
Yes.
So it's something. The reason we having you on our show and embracing this subject, because every single entity, for this to be eradicated in the United States, every entity from the stores to the clothing stores to Best Buy, everyone needs to be aware.
Yes.
If you work at a ticket booth at the movie theater, these people are not hidden. They're in plain sight. One of the big things, and we have to begin to wrap, but one of the biggest things that happened that should have woke us up was a few years ago when a man in Ohio had 3 women trapped in the basement for years, and they had been having babies. I think that you all remember that story. But that's slavery, and that's human trafficking, and it's sexual. And everyone was saying that house looks weird. Something was going on. So it's about bringing awareness. So it is in dentistry.
Yes.
Those people they have rampant decay, and the girl comes in, you have to make her feel safe. Or the male, the human, like you said. So this is so much education. I love the state of Florida. I was telling Melissa when we speaking about this, it's one of the CEs that we have to get to renew our license.
Yes.
And I'm so educated on that when I took the course online, and it was just so emotional. But it's something that we need to keep in people's face. Thank you. Thank you for bringing it in our face today. Thank you for being that voice, and we want to keep you fresh. We want you to come to our conferences, and we want to cheer for you as you carry the mantle. We need more people like you, of all humans, males, females, brown, purple, blue, however that looks.
All the humans.
It needs to be on every face so people can feel comfortable. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And it's something that I make sure that I come across as at these courses, just so anyone knows if it's making you nervous to get educated, or if it makes you uncomfortable. My goal is to make you as comfortable as possible and come off as non-judgmental, non-threatening. I've had humans coming up to me since they found me, telling me their stories. For me to share, because they can't, and even just telling me was a step for them. So I don't want anyone to think that the course that I give, that it's just going to be sheer terror the whole time. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and I just want to bring as much light as I can into the darkest room, and that's this one.
So how can someone contact you if they want to learn more about it, if they're a victim?
Absolutely.
How can they contact you if they want you to come and teach a course?
Absolutely.
How is the best way to contact this amazing human right here that's trying to change the world?
So number one, I'm here for any human that wants to talk to me, even if it's just you want somebody to listen to your story because you haven't told a soul. It will help for someone else to know, so that you're not carrying that weight around like that. I don't care what it is. I don't even have to say anything back to you if you don't want me to. However, anyone can reach out to me about anything. The best way is on Instagram, and you can just DM me. I also have my phone number on there and my email on there. It's Loren the Activist, Loren, and I'll get back to you immediately.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Well, Loren, thank you so much for being with us today, for sharing your story, for advocating, for being a voice to those who don't have a voice. And when you get your nonprofit up and running, I think next week, right? You'll get it up and running next week. let us know, because we're going to be right there with you, supporting you on your journey and making this louder, so we can all help. So we can help with this. It's a very important topic. So thank you all for listening. Loren, thank you for being here. Sonya, as always, it's been a blast.
Always.
That's right. We will see you all next Monday. Remember to please click, like, and share. Love you all.